They look half red to me. Talon stepped up beside her. The man kept his eyes on Ella. You really mean to raise them here with him? Ella's voice didn't shake. They're alive because of him. Thatcher stepped forward, holding out a folded letter. From your family, back east. They can't come for you, but they wanted you to know they're praying. She took the paper, didn't open it. The younger man leaned closer. You think Dustbend's going to accept this? A white woman playing wife to a Comanche raising mongrels? Ella's knuckles whitened around the cradle rail. People already talk, the man sneered. Come planting season, they'll shut your gates before you can buy seed. Just then, the settler woman in the back of the wagon spoke. Elizabeth Thatcher stepped down, a sack of beans in her arms. Her voice was quiet but clear. You need seed, she said. I'll leave it by your fence. If you take it, no one needs to know who gave it. The men turned to glare, but she held their gaze. Ella blinked. Thank you. Elizabeth nodded once. Not all of us forget what it means to owe your life to someone. The riders mounted up again. The second man muttered something as he turned his horse. Talon watched them go. Ella didn't flinch. She looked to the trees, then to her children. If Dustbend wants a line drawn, she said, they better bring chalk. The sky blushed violet as the last warmth of day slipped below the hills. Smoke drifted low across the camp. Fires popped gently in their rings. A light wind stirred the tipis. Ella stood by the river bank, arms crossed, watching her children sleep beneath a hanging blanket of stars. Lily murmured in her dreams. Noah sucked his thumb. Behind her, Talon approached without a sound. They'll leave soon, he said. She didn't turn. Strong elk? He nodded. He'll take the families north, try to settle near Dustbend. Trade, grow, be seen. Ella's gaze stayed fixed on the cradle. And the others? Chief Two Feathers ride south, hidden land near the old hunting routes. Quiet life. Less risk, less freedom. She turned to him. I've lived hidden, in grief, in silence. I don't want that for them. Talon stepped beside her, hands folded. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a round piece of carved wood. LW still etched faintly into the grain. Luke gave me this before the twins were born, she said. He said, when you can't see the path, carry something that remembers you. Talon watched her. I carried it through fire, snow, burial, and I thought it was the only thing keeping me upright. She turned the token in her fingers. But maybe it was just keeping me from reaching for anything else. She placed it in Talon's hand. I don't need it anymore. His fingers closed gently around it. He didn't speak. Then, after a long silence, he said, I still offer it. A place beside me, not just for shelter, not for the children, for you. Ella met his eyes. Even if I'm carrying a past you didn't make, she asked. He stepped forward. Then I'll help carry it. They stood in the stillness. Breath and wind and firelight. Then gently Talon lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. Just once, no vow, no question. Ella reached up and laid her forehead against his. Then let's begin. The scout arrived at dusk, horse lathered and streaked with blood where the reins had rubbed raw. He didn't wait to be welcomed, just dismounted, breath fogging, and burst and shouted names into the fire-lit circle. Talon ran to meet him. Others gathered quickly. Strong elk, rising fawn, a few of the younger warriors. A fire flared up in the ring. Shadows sharpened. Ella pulled Lily to her chest and stepped back beneath the tippy flap. From a distance, she couldn't catch every word, but she understood enough. Something had broken. When Talon returned, his face was hard. The cavalry hit Three Fingers Band, he said, south of the ravine. Claimed it was retaliation, burned their lodges, took women and children. Ella's breath caught. Were they armed? No, they were planning. He knelt beside the fire, hands stretched out to the warmth. We can't stay. She sat across from him. What will they do? They'll split, he said. Strong Elk believes in planting near Dustbend. Visibility, trade, dignity through presence. Others will follow. Chief Two Feathers south to the shadows. They say it's safer. And you? She asked. Talon looked at her, eyes steady. Where you go, I go. Her fingers trembled slightly. I won't raise them in hiding, she said. I want them to walk roads without shame to be seen. Then we stay, he said. She reached for a folded cloth and wrapped it slowly around Noah, whose breath came easy now, even in the cool. They'll talk, she said. Whites, natives, all of them. Talon stood and offered her his hand, then let them talk. It took 4 days to reach the edge of Dustbend. They followed the thawing river, the path muddy beneath hooves and boots. Strong elk led the way with a half-dozen families, wagons creaking with what little they could carry. When they crested the final ridge, Ella stopped. Her cabin still stood, weathered, leaning slightly but upright. The door hung crooked. One shutter had rotted off, but the frame held. She stepped across the threshold. Dust caked the floor. The hearth was cold and filled with ash. A rusted nail tin still sat on the windowsill where Luke had left it. She touched it with 2 fingers. Outside, Talon walked the perimeter, checking posts, testing beams. "I want to fix it," she said aloud. He didn't answer. He just started gathering stones to shore up the porch. They worked side by side, hauling, clearing, straightening. The twins napped in the cradle while smoke began rising again from the chimney. Neighbors saw. Some watched from behind fences, some turned away. By April, the land had softened. Grass crept up beside the porch steps. The cottonwoods behind the cabin swelled with new buds. Smoke curled from the stovepipe again, but this time it smelled of stew and sourdough instead of silence. Inside, Noah crawled across the floor after a feather. Lily chased him loud and grinning. They shrieked when the cradle tipped sideways, then laughed until they fell in a heap. Ella watched from the hearth, wiping her hands on her apron. Outside, Talon worked on the fence, sleeves rolled, boots caked in dirt. His hammer rhythm echoed through the valley, the sound of something not just repaired, but earned. Later, as the sun slid down behind the ridge, Talon walked up the steps carrying a bucket of water. Ella stepped onto the porch, arms folded loosely as she watched him walk up the path. His gait was sure, his face flushed from the day's work. He set bucket of water down by the steps and looked at her, his expression easy. "They're loud today," he said. Ella smiled faintly. "They're safe." The wind stirred between them, soft and cool. Somewhere far off, a hawk cried into the dusk. He leaned in slowly. Ella met him halfway. Their kiss was quiet, not rushed, not uncertain. It was the kind of kiss that comes after too much survival, the kind that says, "Finally." When they parted, their foreheads rested together. Inside, Noah shouted something unintelligible. A second later, Lily knocked over the flour tin with a crash. Talon sighed. "We'd better go be parents." Ella laughed softly. "We already are." They went in together side by side. 10 years had passed, and the land had grown around them. Cottonwoods shaded the rebuilt porch. A garden stretched behind the cabin, thick with corn, beans, and fat red tomatoes. A carved swing hung from the support beam where Talon once stood, hammering, now worn smooth by years of laughter. Inside, voices rang through the house, Noah arguing about the fish he'd caught, Lily demanding a longer braid. The cradle that once sat frozen in a blizzard now rested near the hearth, polished and empty, its wooden slats still strong. Ella never got rid of it. Noah, now 10, spoke Comanche and English in the same breath. His feet were quick, his eyes observant. The men in town called him sharp. The elders called him grounded. He called himself both. Lily was bold, always asking questions no one wanted to answer. She braided feathers into her hair and sang to the chickens. Some in Dustbend looked at her with narrowed eyes. She looked back unflinching. That afternoon, Lily climbed into her mother's lap beside the fire. "Mama," she asked, "how did you meet Papa?" Ella smiled. She brushed a loose curl from her daughter's cheek. Outside, Talon was mending a fence rail Noah had cracked. His whistle drifted in through the open window. Ella reached for the old tin box beneath the mantel. She took out a disc of carved wood. "Lisbya," the letters almost faded now. "This," she said, placing it in Lily's hands, "was made by your father, Luke, before you were born. He told me when you can't see the path, carry something that remembers you." Lily turned it over gently. Ella's voice softened. "After he died, I carried it through a storm that nearly took us all. Then someone found us, not because he had to, but because he chose to." She looked out the window at Talon. "And from then on, I stopped surviving. I started choosing." Lily's brow furrowed. "Did Papa Talon know that?" Ella nodded. "He never needed the token. He remembered on his own." The screen door creaked. Talon stepped inside, brushing dust from his sleeves. "Supper's on," he said. Lily ran out, clutching the token tight. Ella lingered. She stood in the quiet stillness of the cabin, her hand resting on the cradle's polished edge. Through the open window, the smell of earth and warm bread mingled with the evening air. Outside, laughter echoed between fence rails and cottonwoods. Once all she'd known was loss. Now she lived surrounded by the proof of what had been salvaged, what had been chosen. She stepped out into the fading light. The cottonwoods stirred in the wind, their branches shifting like arms reaching skyward. Their leaves whispered against one another like pages turning in a story still being written, a story not born of rescue or luck, but of grace, grit, and love that endured long after the storm. And as the sun slipped low beyond the prairie, Ella Langley walked back into the warmth of her home with no need to carry a token anymore.